Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Who's that?
It's Mark Davison, former ride engineer, now triplicate monkey.
Oh, and was there somebody else there? Hello?
Yeah, this is Anthony Richardson. I'm calling myself still the CEO of Footballland. I know we've jettisoned those, but I'm still calling myself it on business cards. I've had the business cards printed.
And in the nicest possible way, Ryan, I will always think of you as the intern.
Yeah.
It's less expensive.
What is this? Meeting 26?
26 of Footballland!
Right, we've got 3 rides to pitch as ever, and the great thing about that is only 2 of them are ours. As ever, one is a Patreon pitch. What is the Patreon pitch this week?
I'm doing the Patreon pitch this week. It's from Phil Lee, and it's called Big Expensive Flops.
Anthony, what you got?
I've got Rory Delap's Dilapidated Lap Dance.
I'm aroused. And I'm pitching Knee Shinji Go.
Wow.
Shinji Kagawa.
Hey, what an advert that is. But not as good as the advert Mark did for Wag's Corner by Rosie Holt in episode 8.
I'd done this.
In meeting number 8, Rosie Holt pitched us Wag's Corner. The result was astonishing. But enough of my yakking. Here it is described in her own words.
Fun booths. For the sophisticated lady.
Pretty solid, I think you'll agree.
Ryan, you've got an idea? Question mark?
Well, it's Knee Shinji Go, and this is a ride honouring, obviously, Shinji Kagawa, and also the first 5 numbers of the Japanese numbering system.
Right.
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Ichi is 1, Ni is 2, San is 3, Shi is 4, and Go is 5. Ichi ni San Shi, and I've changed that into Ichi ni Shinji, and I'm desperate to get itchy knees into this ride.
It's 1, 2, footballer 5.
Yeah, and also, let's not forget, almost all Japanese words have 2 meanings to them as well. So I have involved some Google translating in this, so I apologise in advance to anybody from Japan or people that like Japanese stuff.
Right, good caveat, thank you.
So itchy knees, I was thinking, right, he's playing in, Shinji Kagawa is now playing in Greece. I thought he could maybe have a pair of those Greek guard slippers on with a little pom-pom on the end.
I can't say I know what they are, but I'm definitely going to Google them afterwards.
Those Greek guards, they stand outside Parliament and they do a funny dance. Pom-poms were big back in the day if you were a guard. I'm not sure why. It sort of looks like you're dribbling 2 footballs at the same time. This ride probably needs to give a sort of nod to the Japanese game show. So from the off, you've got these slippers on, but you've got a massive pom-pom, and it probably comes up to your knee and it's tickling it a little bit, just from the off.
Great.
And then I was thinking, all right, well, there's that famous clip of those 3 Japanese footballers taking on about 100 kids.
At football?
At football, yes.
Yeah, at football, not fighting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of combining, Shinji Kagawa's, giant pom-pom shoes, the 100 kids Japanese players, and kind of, TV shows such as sort of Takeshi's Castle and Ninja Warrior, right?
Yep.
And then I've crammed all of that through a Google Translate, and this is what I've got. You're on an inflatable stretch of stuff, right? Itchy, right? Translated, kind of translates into position, right? This is stage 1. Itchy, number 1, means position, right? So you take up your starting position. You've got 3 doors in front of you. One is open, or unlocked rather. One is half unlocked, like a barn door, and the third one is closed. So you've got a 2 in 3 chance of getting through. 1, you're out straight away, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got your giant Greek shoes on with the big pom-pom.
Yeah, your knee's getting tickled.
Your knee's getting tickled, but your knee must not buckle. You've got to be a champ. Pick your door, get through. If you get through, you're into knee. It's number 2, right?
Okay, yeah.
Knee translates to...
Hold on.
Yeah.
How do you get through the closed door if that's the one you choose?
You're out. You smash into it. You're gone.
Yeah. Everyone laughs at you.
There's 100 children doing this ride, right, Ryan?
No, one person. The 100 children's coming next. Knee, number 2. It also means 2. So this bit, you've got to get to something, right? So you've gotten through the door, and then there are 100 kids rushing to get your autograph because theoretically you're Shinji Kagawa in a pair of giant Greek pom-pom shoes. So you've got to wade through these kids, and as they're kind of rushing at you to try and get your autograph, their hair's tickling your knees.
They're very small children then.
They are.
Are they dwarf children?
No, just little children. Toddlers. They're just walking.
Okay,
maybe
fine.
maybe they've They're autographs in crayon. Kids are very attracted to bright colours, so crayon autographs. You've got one maybe stapled to your chest. Big pom-pom shoes, trying to get through. Can't buckle. You must not buckle. You're running on this inflatable kind of bouncy castle kind of material, right? You've got to get through. So you wade through the kids. If you manage to wade through the kids and they don't take you down and rip your autograph off your chest, you get to Shin. Right, the third bit, which should be San, but is Shin, because this is Knee Shinji Go. And Shin, the first bit of Shinji's name, translates into heart.
So his name's Hearty Kagawa.
Sort of. It's sort of, there's the G bit as well, which I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, it's sort of like, yeah. So heart, he's got to show a lot of spirit in this aspect of it, right? Right. So he's got to climb the yellow wall from his time at Borussia Dortmund. Okay. But the yellow wall is made out of Borussia Dortmund fans, a bit like one of those Spanish human towers. It's probably made up of out-of-work, Germans in sort of a reverse of Alvida St. Pet. Right. So you've got a wall of out-of-work Germans. Yeah, pyramid of out-of-work Germans, and you've got to climb up it. And as you're climbing up, they're trying to tickle your knees. Oh, no. But your legs must not buckle. You've got to go. You're in your giant pom-pom shoes. You've probably got a child or two still attached to you. You're trying to climb up a human wall of unemployed Germans, and they're trying to tickle your knees. If you manage to get to the top, then you're on to stage 4, G. Ichi, ni, shin, G. G means character, but not character as in spirit, more like a letter.
Heart letter. A love letter, Kagawa.
Kagawa means wonky tractor as well, so heart letter, wonky tractor.
Character as in like a single letter, like the letter A, because it's quite crucial for this bit, because you dive from the top of the human tower of unemployed Germans in your giant pom-pom shoes into a ball pit of spongy letters, like a giant alphabetic spaghetti with no sauce, or maybe sauce. Yeah, maybe lots of sauce. Currywurst, right, from his time at Dortmund, right?
Love it.
Now you've got to get the letters to spell his current club, PAOK. P-A-O-K. But in the currywurst, wriggling around, there's some live eels dressed as bratwurst, right? And they're tickling your knees. You've guessed it. They're tickling your knees. But you must not buckle. You've got to plough on. You've got to get the 4 letters P-A-O-K. You've got to get them out of the currywurst. So we're on to stage 5. Go. Ichi Knee Shinji Go. Now, go translates into rear, as in sort of derriere.
Bottom.
Yeah? So the last stage of this ride. So you've gone through the doors, giant pom-pom shoes, fended off some kids, climbed up a tower of unemployed Germans. You've avoided, eels dressed as sausages. You've got the letters P-A-O-K, and there you have your moment of truth. You've now got this ball, and you've got to kick a football, not into a goal, but there's just 2 giant butt cheeks. Yeah, go means rear. There's a giant butt, 2 cheeks, and sort of like a kind of medieval stocks. The face of Louis van Gaal is through one butt cheek, and the other butt cheek is David Moyes, and he's going to get his revenge, right? So you've got to take a shot. You've either got to hit Louis van Gaal or David Moyes in the face, and if you do, you can exit probably through the bum hole, which is hairy, and you've guessed it. It tickles your knees.
Oh,
wow.
And you must not buckle.
Yeah. On health and safety note, the region where you're wading through very tiny children, how do we avoid those children being stepped upon accidentally?
Okay, I can answer that actually for you, Ryan, because those children happen to be fathered by the unemployed Germans, and they're going to be responsible for those children.
Well, but how are they going to protect it if they're like the third row up from the floor and they've got 15 rows above them?
Maybe we dress the kids up as giant pom-poms, and they don't need to be so small.
If they're wearing pom-poms like kind of mini Zorb balls, then you can really be quite safely violent in swatting them away.
So they're all like snooker balls just hitting each other and going into pockets.
Can we play Snooker Loopy by Chaz and Dave in that room?
You probably want to pump that into each ball to really get them hyped up. I'd like the balls to be like those little fuzzy balls you used to get in pub toilets as a sort of like a toothbrush.
Yeah,
you were kind of
stations,
delinquent alcoholic and if you know are still in the pub and you've got to go to work now. Well, just pop £2 in this machine and chew this piece of plastic that's
got mint in it.
Hint of mint on it, and no one will know that you're wearing the same clothes.
What
and
a strange contraption.
Living out your car.
It's like you go to these machines. It's like condoms and toothbrushes.
Is your breath getting in the way of you having sex with a lady?
All in favour of Knee Shinji Go, say aye. 3, 2, 1.
Aye.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Yes.
You must be so happy.
Oh, I am. I'm getting on the pom-poms right away.
Snooker loopy nuts are we, me and him and them and me. Snooker loopy nuts are we, Shinji Kagawa itchy knee. There's Van Gaal and David Moyes, pom-poms on and the Dortmund boys. Shoot the ball right up the bum. It makes no sense, but it's lots of fun.
So some engagements come in, Mark. What engagement have we got? Tell us the engagement.
Well, the engagement that we've been engaged with is from a Phil Lee, and he doesn't beat around the bush. He's straight in there with big, expensive flops. That's his first sentence. There's no, hello, how are you? Really enjoying the podcast or hating the podcast, whatever. Nothing. He's just straight in, big, expensive flops. And then he continues, you can increase the price of entrance into one of the parts of the park for a day or a period, whatever. Ooh. It's almost like he's been very casual about his approach to us here. The word whatever is written. And he's also saying you can increase the price of entrance into one of the parts of the park.
Right.
It's like, I think we're just doing a general entrance, aren't we? Anyway, he's saying increase it by threefold, and anything English related needs to include that, inverted commas, English player premium, close inverted commas. So that would be a 5-fold increase.
Nice.
After paying to get in, rides and services are under-maintained, not functioning properly, things missing, etc., etc. But it shouldn't drive anyone away. We're all used to the expensive flop and will happily buy another Carol anytime.
So they're the same rides, but if you're English or if they're English-themed, we just make sure they're a bit shit.
Yeah. I mean, we've done that already, but I think Phil's touched on something, hasn't he? Because we are missing out on a trick that there is an opportunity, a bit like when you go to a carnival, you sort of have to use tokens or money to get, or tickets to get on rides. We could totally introduce an additional payment system into Footballland. I mean,
Yep. I once went to a music festival in Italy where you couldn't pay cash for anything except tokens. You had to buy them in denominations of 20 quid, which you couldn't get a refund on if you had any left at the end.
Genius.
Yeah.
It's like,
that is premium conning. Okay, I get it. Danny Drinkwater, Jack Rodwell, Andy Carroll, English premium, underperformance, over-promising, under-delivering. But the number of foreign flops still outweighs you've got Bebe, you've got Kleberson, Shevchenko, Adrian Mutu.
There's not really a
Aquilani at Liverpool.
A lot of those players, without the exception of Bebe, were performing previous to that. I think Phil's talking specifically about the premiums, such as, English player makes 6 starts in the Championship, scores 3 goals, and all of a sudden they're worth 30 million.
That's fair enough. But what about Andy Carroll? He was performing for Newcastle before he went to Liverpool.
Yeah, but not at football.
Oh, right. Interior design. He was pretty good. Have you seen his living room when he was there? It was pretty special. He had zebra striped wallpaper.
I mean, Phil Lee isn't totally restricting this to English flops. He does recommend a 3-fold increase for other flops, for international flops. It's just the English flops are even more spectacular, even more expensive. So, but he's not denying that there's international flops, of which we know there are many.
I mean, if we think about some of the English aspects of the park and either make them shitter, we've got a lot to work with there. I mean, we've got around the world in 80 Steves, I guess. That could just be sort of around the world in 80 UK seaside towns, or maybe around the M25 in 80 seconds. You know, we could all. There's a lot we could work with here. You know, Dion Dublin's bungalow under the polo mallet.
Yeah. I feel that the English rides we've already got are a bit rubbish, though, haven't we? I mean, is that what you're kind of saying? Because like Lee Cattermole, is it a cat or is it a mole? Has got to be the most rubbish ride or exhibit that's ever been come up with. You're just putting your hand in a box, so you got to work out if it's a cat or a mole.
Well, to be fair, I think Dummett's meat and potatoes probably remains itself for sure, and the caramel was
that's what I was going to say.
Don't
don't make it more rubbish. Just charge 3, 4, 5 times as much to go into this already rubbish thing.
Okay,
that's what Phil Lee's driving at, isn't it?
I'm all in favour of that. That sounds like a marvellous idea. If that makes us more money, then I'm up for it.
Is there a way to highlight how Chelsea seem to be the experts at paying the odds for players that don't perform? We could easily do a Premier League starting 11 of just Chelsea players.
Well, they don't. Not only do they not perform, they don't even feature. So you could actually have these rides where you pay for them, and then you don't even see the ride, or
you don't get anything.
You don't be able to get on it. So we could actually have imaginary rides where people pay real money or the real tokens to go on, but then they keep asking where the ride is, but nobody can answer.
And then somebody comes and says, "Well, in 3 or 4 years they'll be ready to return from." Belgium.
Absolutely. You should come here on a Wednesday night because, they're playing in the under-23s and they're 28. They're one of the only 2 players under 23 that's allowed to play. But, they're good enough for the under-23s. So, come back on Wednesday if it's not the Carabao Cup because they're on the bench for that too.
Yeah.
I would say in conclusion, Phil, you're really onto something. This is great. You need to work on your communication skills because that was pretty brusque and I, for one, was shocked.
I liked it. I knew from the beginning. I'm like, I know what I'm working with here. Thank you, Phil. A bit more of this clarity certainly makes my job easier.
Yep.
Actually, I've totally changed my mind, Phil. You're a genius. You're a genius at all fronts. You're right. You're right, Ryan. It got to the point. We don't need niceties up front.
No.
Well done, Phil. Yeah. Are we ready to vote on this?
Yeah, I'm ready to vote on it. Yeah.
So all those in favour of Phil Lee's big expensive flops being incorporated into the way the park works, say aye. 3, 2, 1.
Aye. Congratulations,
Well done,
Phil. Thank you, Phil.
Really good.
And really nice communication skills as well. Well done.
Young man,
or girl,
we're building football land. I said, young man,
or girl,
we could do with a hand. I said, young man,
or girl,
do you understand? You could get in on this. You need to head on to P-A-T-R-E-O-N now. P-A-T-R-E-O-N. Send us whatever you think. It might be good, it might stink. We will talk about it anyway. You need to head on to P-A-T-R-E-O-N now. P-A-T-R-E-O-N. Chuck in a couple of pound. We've got your thoughts all around, and it might just make our day.
Send us your ideas at patreon.com/footballland. Thank you.
Okay, this is Rory Delap's Dilapidated Lap Dance. Now, I've been thinking, of course, we've got the Durex Red Light District Total Fuckball in the park already. We don't actually have that many exhibits for it.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I don't know if this is correct, and you might know more than me, but I don't think there's been a Stoke City themed lap dancing club in the entire world. I don't think one exists.
And we need one because I once went to Stoke to watch Stoke v Liverpool. It was 2009. The kickoff was at 5:30 and I got there for reasons I no longer recall. I got there about 11 a.m. The only things that were open in the entire town on a Saturday were pubs that had strippers that you put a quid in a pint glass and...
but were they Stoke City themed?
It may surprise you, but I didn't actually go in and investigate them. I actually had breakfast in Debenhams and then I went to the Pottery Museum.
I said, what about breakfast at Debenhams?
You're just your average Liverpool away fan, aren't you, Mark? Tearing it up in Debenhams.
I went to the Pottery Museum that had a full Spitfire hanging from the ceiling, not made of pottery.
Ooh. It's your classic Liverpool away day.
I think I've been there. I think I went there on a school trip. We went to Wedgwood, and I'm sure we went to the Pottery Museum.
Do you remember this full-size Spitfire hanging from the ceiling for reasons that are not made obvious?
So essentially, my sort of 9-year-old school trip was the equivalent of your Liverpool away day.
Except you didn't have a terrible time at the Britannia Stadium.
Yeah, did you get a rubber from the gift shop?
Well, you wouldn't. You'd need that if there was a Stoke City lap dancing club, but there isn't.
A Potteries Museum branded condom.
No. Right. So this exhibit it celebrates Stoke City and Rory Delap. Rory Delap of Stoke and other clubs, but mostly Stoke. And that's where he kind of discovered his art of long throws. Tony Pulis called his long throws basically like a free kick, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So it's a lap dancing club in the theme of Stoke City. So it's red and white stripes everywhere. The manager's always wearing a baseball cap, and the walls of the club, the Bet365 Stadium now, they do join together, the stands. But I always think of Stoke City's ground as having 4 separate stands, although even that's not true anymore. But do you remember it used to be basically the coldest stadium in the entire world? Like whether you're in a pre-season friendly in July or Boxing Day in the Premier League or the Championship, it's exactly the same temperature. It's like, in caves, they're always the same temperature of like 6 degrees Celsius. Yeah. This stadium is freezing all year round and windy. So I want it to be the first cold lap dancing club. Very cold, very windy. So open air, but with a weather system over it, because I know Qatar is very hot. I want us to borrow the weather system of the school sports simulator and have sleet just lashing down on this lap dancing club. Okay.
I mean, it would, improve the nipple erectage.
Thing is, though, Ryan, the nippleage won't matter because these are all sex robots. They're robots that all look like Rory Delap, either female or male. They all look like... It's not Westworld, okay? Right. It's just a club with sex robots that you get from Japan, but they look exactly like Rory Delap. Long hair, short hair, tattooed, piercings, whatever, like lots of different Rory Delaps. Why are they sex robots? Because I want to respect the cultural... appropriateness of Qatar and the Middle East. They don't really go in for your debauchery, so I've made them all robots. I'm going to preface this, by the way. I've only been to 2 lap dancing clubs in my entire life, and one time I had to go home early because I had an asthma attack. And that's nothing to do with the titillation. It was because the beer I was drinking was very wheaty, and that set me off. But it did look like sweet. I was leaving a club in Hamburg wheezing. Wow. Like the sleaziest man on the street.
It's a good advert.
So they're actual sex robots that look exactly like Rory Delap. And the reason also they're robots is because they're very specially made. I don't know if you've seen the Crash Dummies, the cartoon in the 90s. And indeed the toys, when you press them, all their limbs spring off.
I had a Crash Dummy car. Yeah. Fantastic.
I want these robots to be made in the same way because there's a no touching policy at lap dancing clubs, as we know, but it could be stricter. This way, if you even touch these robots, all their limbs spring off. Hence the dilapidated nature of Rory Delap's Dilapidated lap dancing club. Then, if you do touch, it's like when a lizard sheds its tail. If you touch it even slightly, all of their limbs and indeed their head will pop off. So you're just in your lap is a discombobulated torso
of Rory Delap.
I did not know that about lizards. What evolutionary advantage does that give a lizard?
Maybe it's sort of japes, like all the other lizards like it more, so it becomes more popular and then has more lady lizards.
Japes. Imagine that as a party trick at a lizard party. Hey guys, watch this, and then it just disintegrates in front of you. It's just a head.
That'd be a great David Blaine or David Copperfield trick. Right, so the thing is, though, this is a very, very, very strict club, okay? The management, as we've said, he wears a baseball cap and he's no nonsense.
Tony.
It's also cold, windy and rainy. Nobody's happy. And these robots are extremely expensive, yeah? When you do touch one of these robots and all their limbs fall off, that is bad news because the management will be extremely angry. They will not only want you to pay for it, which is thousands and thousands of Footballland coins, but also violence. They will beat you up because that's what happens with a Pulis team. They're extremely physical. You need to then, and this is where Rory Delap's famous throw-ins come into, you need to then, the only way of avoiding being beaten up by management and being sued is by disposing of the evidence. You need to long throw all of the limbs and the head out of the lap dancing club.
So it's not
you need to pick up. So it's not got a ceiling. No, it's in the open air. It's an open air. It's the world's first Stoke City themed open air lap dancing club with its own weather system
in Qatar.
So you've got to launch, and I'm talking long throw-ins here. You've got to, you can either do a forward roll before you throw it. You can just do Rory Delap. He was a champion javelin player in his youth. He nearly threw the javelin for Ireland at the Olympics. So I think he led with one arm. Whatever technique works, but you've got to get all four limbs and the head out of that lap dancing stadium before management see you.
Is there anybody there to judge whether it's a foul throw-in? Because, despite that gaining almost no advantage from a throwing ever, people are very hot on foul throws. Fans love that.
Yeah, they're making a resurgence, aren't they? There's been more foul throws in the last couple of seasons than I remember.
And I love it. I love things that are totally pointless, gain no advantage, and people lose their shit over. I absolutely love that stuff.
We could put a chip into each limb that can work out if the limb has been brought back behind your head properly and propelled above kind of 90-degree level. Good. Do you see what I mean? On a protractor. Yeah. So there would be a foul throw element, but it's not like a referee of this lap dancing club is monitoring you. It's literally
the old Intel protractor processor.
Yeah. Presumably the easiest one to do is the head because it's most ball-like, and the
so
hardest
what would you do
is
first?
the torso.
I'd say torso is quite easy. I mean, you try throwing a leg over a massive wall.
Well, I have done, and it's a piece of piss. But the torso
like a prosthetic
is actually
leg.
No, but that's another story for another time. The torso will be heavy, won't it?
Yeah, I think that's going to be heavy. I do agree. I think a limb's fairly, because you can wang a limb, don't you? That's the action kind of.
Twang it like a boomerang,
It's very much a kind of, and then it sort of propels itself. Whereas a torso, that's more of like one of those strongmen games when you see those really kind of, those men that claim themselves to be muscular but are actually obese, carrying sort of a barrel and hefting it sort of on top of a washing machine on Eurosport. That's the action. I think the torso, because also that's probably where all your Intel protractor processors are in that bit. I've got a concern.
Go on. Is your concern, where do we put this? Because you don't want to be walking through Footballland and have like a torso with a fanny and boobs.
No, it's not
landing on your head.
It's not that
you're
at all,
walking with your children to a Scofiation Noshball. Is that your concern?
No.
Because yes, I do feel that. I think, by the way, there's no. It's like a mannequin doll. You don't. These robots don't need genitals. Okay, because
they're sexless.
No, we got to put genitals in. Look away, son. There's a fanny just been thrown in the road. I'm wondering about. I mean, this is potentially a good thing, but I'm going to raise it as a potential criticism. If you analyse attendances at strip joints, then they're very clearly delineated between the sexes. In that a group of females at an entertainment whereby men are removing their clothes is very raucous and
it's a
communal, and they're all having fun. Whereas the opposite, when ladies are removing their clothes, the audience is single men not interacting with each other, dribbling a bit and looking with a distinct lack of joy. They're
probably most likely incapacitated by a very wheaty beer.
Yeah.
Yes. And a stonking great hard on if the performance is
that's a good point. Trying to do these long throw-ins with a massive throb on is gonna be a bit of an obstacle. I'm not sure Rory Delap ever had that in his career.
Yeah. Could we maybe sell some kind of like a garter to sort of strap your hard on either down or up? Either against the inside of the thigh or maybe up towards the belly button.
Maybe there's a vending machine in there. Once you've accidentally triggered a sex robot to flail its limbs everywhere, so they've exploded like in different corners of the room, then there's a vending machine there that you can buy a jockstrap.
It also sells those plastic balls that clean your teeth with.
Yes, very important.
Well, how does this address though the very different atmosphere? Are we just saying it's men and women all in there together, looking at male and female robots?
Basically, I'm thinking, what can we do for straight men? What can we do for straight women? What can we do for gay men and women?
Yeah.
And luckily, there's 4 different stands of a stadium.
Nice.
So we could actually have, if you imagine this lap dancing club to be a rectangle.
So
that it's divided up into 4 quadrants, like Trivial Pursuit sort of cheeses, yeah? Right?
Yeah.
So then you've got 4 very different sections.
You must be allowed to wander freely. If you enter
you are allowed to wander freely. There's no walls. It's just imaginary lines. So you can see what's happening at the other end of the stage.
If you enter this uncertain of your own orientation, then we want to help you discover who you are.
Yeah, and you might want to just have a look at what's going on in the gay section or the straight female section.
I thought you solved this already by making the robots sexless. You know, there was just a smooth bump. And we've been there before, and I feel like I've perfected the smooth bump on the mechanical Steve Bull, you know, so I've got I've got a template, I've got a mould for that already. So,
but there is a question of top Nolux, isn't there?
Yeah. No, they've got to be there because that's part of it for the man, for sure.
I thought they were coming to watch the dancing
and the long throws.
Yeah,
someone who goes to a strip club to admire the curtains at the back.
Essentially, there's got to be a reason for these people to be eroticized by it. So the boobs have to be there, is what I'm saying.
Well, I think genitalia is a key part of it. I think, you know, from the adverts outside the real life pubs in Stoke on a cold January Saturday morning.
And Debenhams.
I guess that's where my question comes in. So if I'm outside the Rory Delap dilapidated lap dance stadium as it is now, how do I have an indication of what I'm walking into? I'm confused. I'm curious, but I'm confused going in.
A pottery Spitfire on the outside, which links it firmly to Stoke.
All right, the Spitfire will get me in.
And it's in the red light district as well, isn't it?
True, it's in.
You're under no illusions of what you're going into.
Are you not? I'm very good.
I don't know how you prepare someone for disintegrating robots of all genders and orientations.
So I go into the Rory Delap's dilapidated lap dance and not really knowing what it is, bit confused. I pop myself in and then I walk up to one of the Rory ladies and I sort of just tap her on the shoulder and go, "Oh, excuse me, madam," and she explodes.
Where are the toilets? You know, and then you've got to chuck all of the bits out of the stadium before the management find you.
Bouncer bearing down on me with threatening violence, and all the customers are shouting at me, "Just lob it, just lob it." And I'm trying to long throw a robot out of a roofless arena that is raining on me, which is really hard to hold this rubbery Japanese robot out, which I think is a man or a woman, which it doesn't matter, it's fine. And then my family are outside and I'm throwing, dismembered, man-lady bits over the wall, and I come out, being thrown out using... Tony Pulis has probably used my head to open the door, and I go out, a pair of swing doors, and land in the street, and they're like, "So, Ryan, what is it?" And I go, "Well, the Spitfire's misleading."
All right, well, let's have a vote. Let's have a vote. I mean, you can have as many reservations as you like, but it is a democracy. So if you don't want to vote it in, then don't vote it in.
This might be the first nay of Footballland, I'm afraid. I'm very concerned
all in favour
for the family.
All in favour of Rory Delap's dilapidated lap dance, say aye. 3, 2, 1. Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Oh, wow. It still goes through. The first ever nay.
Hello there, big boy. I am Rory Delap. Look at my long throw. Oh, it is so long. Please do not touch me. Oh dear, you have touched me on my Rory Delap lady boobs. And now I have to explode. much.
That was nice. That was
nice. Lovely. That was
really lovely. It's lovely.
3 new rides. Lovely. Great. Get us your rides, Patreons. We feature everyone. We need some more. And we'll see you next time on Footballland.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Can you do me a solid? Please bung my legs over that wall, and while you are at it, please chuck my fanny across the road.